I'm going to share some good information with you. I think it's good information that you can use to prepare your taxes or work with your tax preparer. Or if you've already filed your taxes, I don't know how many people that are on top of that this early, but if you have, you might hear this information today and decide to amend that tax filing. So today, I want to share with you a way to approach tax filing. And I call it DIY because you really, even if you take your books to a tax preparer, you want to already have DIY'd some of that stuff. So you want to do a lot of the groundwork before you even get to a tax preparer. But I want to talk to you really about why tax strategy is crucial to your business, even if you're working with an accountant. So think about what an accountant is and what accountant does. A lot of tax preparers are maybe glorified bookkeepers, and no shame to that. You know, we all have our area of training. As a business attorney, I work with strategy. We can work with you and your accountant, or you and your tax preparer, or you can work with us. We do have in-house people. If you've been in business a while, or even live in a while, you know the tax code is full of benefits for small businesses. You should be aware of that. Most tax business owners think they're too busy to sit down and chart out a strategy. You know, they think that, and it makes sense, right? That you want to hand it over to a professional to take care of that for you. You know, just a little bit too busy, don't have a strategy, too busy for it, because we, myself included, we're building, we're on our grind, we're doing our, I would say, our sacred or our divine purpose. And your purpose may not be preparing taxes. But the problem can be is that most tax preparers, and I won't say most, like I've done a survey, but I will say every single business owner that we've worked with, their tax preparer didn't even ask about a strategy. Their goal was simply to file the taxes. They didn't even ask, what is your strategy? So today we're going to discuss ways to reduce taxes and to help you spot tax preparers that are too busy preparing taxes or not competent to come up with strategies for their clients. You need a strategy, right? So it's not a blame game. It's, do you have a strategy in place? I like to start out with know thyself. Who are you as an individual? How do you maximize your potential as an individual? Right? Before we can get to the business, who are you? What is your purpose on the planet? Not necessarily what business you have. What is your purpose? Do you fill a gap? Do you help people? You got to sit with yourself and understand that so that you can maximize your potential. When you know thyself, you know what that divine inspiration is for you to contribute to the planet, then you can pour that into your business. Think about how your creativity translates into your business. That's super important because you can have a divine purpose that translates into various businesses. For example, if you are a healer, maybe your business is to become a doctor, or you are a doctor. Maybe you're not a doctor. Maybe you're a Reiki specialist, right? Maybe you work with trauma victims in terms of coaching. There are different ways that translates, but you have to know your purpose. Sometimes also you can be in a business that's not necessarily a helping or healing, but you know that you can bring that into your business. So that's something special. Maybe you have a business, and let me think of one that's not helping business. You have a business, oh, I can use this client here, creating glasses frames, right? But at her heart of hearts, she's really about helping women find their creative expression in the world, right? So you can do that in fashion. You can do that as an attorney. I do that myself, help women express themselves creatively in the world. So the point of all of this is understand what your sweet thing is, right? So say for this client, she's making, designing glass frames. Some of them are customized and some she's just created and she sells in mass. But because her heart is at helping women express themselves creatively in the world, she brings that sweet spot. So she's not going to be like any other glasses frame creator, manufacturer, producer, because she's about helping women express themselves creatively in the world. So that's just an example for you to think about. What is what is it that you bring to your business? What are you pouring into your business, right? That is going to be what I sort of call like your trade secret, your little sweet spot that's going to make you different from any other attorney, any other doctor, any other eyeglass eyeglass frame creator, right? Know thyself. That is, I feel like, the most important thing. There's a beauty in just knowing who you are and knowing how crucial that is to your creative process, right? So when you think about the nuts and bolts of creating glasses frames, right? I want to say it's not that difficult if you know how to do that. But the sweet spot is what you're bringing, the energy behind it. That's going to help you maximize your potential. So now that we've kind of balanced and got a framework of where we're going with this is, I am not a traditional owner of just a standard law firm. This is how I treat all of my clients and all of their work. It's not immediately, okay, do you have an entity? Okay, do you have a trademark? Yes, those are things that are important, but holistically, who is the client? Who are you? I want to know that when I'm working with you. So you need to be thinking of your business now that you have a baseline of, remembering who you are and what your essence, your uniqueness is. I want you to consider how much of it reflects in your business as who you are. Because some of us get up in the morning, we do our yoga, we do our meditation, we might journal, we close that book, boom, and we're out the door to business. We want to make sure you're bringing all of that with you into your business because that's going to affect your bottom line. So if you are still thinking about, okay, who am I and how do I show up in business, or how do I use my business to reflect my divine purpose, what I call divine purpose, then you want to, maybe jot it down and meditate on it or journal about it or take a walk and think about it or ask your friends, your relatives to reflect back to you. The point is, I need you to know what that is. You need to know what that is. I'm sure a lot of people, at least a lot of people that I gave this invitation to, they already know, right? If you don't know, make sure you know today. Find out today. Spend some time this weekend. Don't go into another week without understanding your sweet uniqueness and then how that reflects within your business itself, right? This is important. I'm going somewhere. Don't think I'm getting you lost on what we call in law school, red herring out there. This is important. It's all building. So just have some patience with the process. So now that you know thyself, know thy business. What is your business? What is the essence of your business? Now, this should be easy once you understand the essence of who you are and what you're bringing to your business. So is your business a eyeglass frame manufacturer? Are you a scientist that's developing different types of medication? Are you a healer? Right? Know your business. And then the other thing I notice is that sometimes people, they don't separate their business from who they are. They think they're their business, as opposed to the business is a container for my expression in the world, which can really, bring me some financial remuneration. So know thy business. So this is really the heart of what this presentation is about. Knowing your business. And the thing is, when you can articulate your business, when you can fully explain and express that, then that's how you know. That's how you know. I work with, I have a training program for attorneys, and I'm always saying, when you can write out the concept that I say 5-year-old, but really I'm really shooting for like a high school student can understand exactly what you're talking about, then that's how I know you know it. So do that for yourself. Write about your business. How are you expressing your divine essence through your business? You're going to need that. Because as you move more into, because now I'm talking about the creative, esoteric piece of business. And when you move into the physical, concrete part of it, you're going to draw on that. That's going to tell you what your trade secrets are. That's going to tell you what intellectual property needs to be protected. All of that. Your foundation is to knowing thyself and then knowing the business. So, what do you need? Now, here you can start taking notes if you want to. You don't have to. I will be sharing the recording with everybody. But think about, who do you serve? Who's your target audience? Sometimes people are like, listen, I'm just trying to make that dollar. No, we don't need everybody's dollar. We need the dollar from your target audience, the one person, your avatar or your ideal client. These are all buzzwords. I am not a marketer, so give me some grace. I'm probably using it incorrectly. But who is that person that you want to serve that's going to be so grateful and appreciative that you said, I'll step out here into the world and share my gift? That's your target audience. What is your company culture? What is your customer experience like, or your clientele experience? What do they feel like engaging with you? Do they feel like you're bringing that essence? Like, as they interact with your business, be it your support team or you directly, are they feeling that unique part of the know thyself? Then we talk about industry norms. So that's going to be, as far as who do you serve, that's standard. Company culture, that can be standard too, because these are based on your desires, your personal desires through your business, right? But then we get into industry norms. What are the historical trends? Do you have a business plan? What is your current business model? Is there room to innovate? Just pay attention to it. Now, you don't have to have the answer to industry norms today. You need to know company culture. You need to know who you serve. Seriously. So that you can start saying no, the person that doesn't fit your target audience. It took me a while to get clear on that, because what will happen is, I have a heart for service, and I know that there's a time within my business where I wanted to serve so much, and I was not thinking about whether this person was my target audience. So protect yourself and know your target audience, because that's the one that's going to pay you well and be grateful for what you have. It's a perfect fit, right? So you got to have that one on lock today or by Monday, right? And then company culture. What is the experience? How do people feel interacting with the business? And you're going to know because they're making referrals or not, right? And so for industry norms, let's go back to the woman with the eyeglass frames, right? Her industry norms are going to be completely different from another of our client that's a therapist, a psychotherapist, right? That's going to be completely different. So what are your industry norms? For the eyeglass frames person, maybe the textiles that she uses, maybe the trend is changing, that what she's using right now has become more expensive, right? And so now, can she innovate and make it better and still reduce her bottom dollar, her bottom, payout for these materials? So that's thing. Then let me think about the therapist. We have the impact of the pandemic, quarantine, right? First of all, where people were not engaging in a physical, in-person manner. So that's one shift in that sort of business. And then the aftermath of the quarantine, where sometimes people still don't want to go out and sit in a therapist's office, right? And how to innovate with that, because maybe, for this particular client, maybe she's noticing that some people need to come in to get holistic therapy. So those are just two examples. I'll probably lean on those two since they're top of mind right now. Examples of industry norms, trends. Then I want to talk about entity designation. How is your business classified? Are you a sole proprietor? Do you have a limited liability company? Do you have a corporation? Do you also, I say also, because it should be also, have a nonprofit corporation? Do you have a what is the word I'm looking for? It's not a nonprofit entity, but it's a nonprofit service division within your for-profit. Think about that. And I always like to add that because sometimes, myself included, I have been in a place within my business where I didn't want to turn someone away simply because they couldn't retain law firm fees, right? So I ended up creating a nonprofit service division. So I always add that in there because as women, we do have a heart for service and helping people. We can talk about that a little bit more if we schedule a one-on-one, but I just want to put that out there. Your entity designation. Assets. Have you assessed the economic value of your assets and are they different? Your assets personally versus your business assets. There needs to be some analysis there. There should be a strategy behind who's owning which assets, right? And then, do you have business compliance strategies in place? Meaning, are you not only adhering to industry standards, are you adhering to regulatory compliance rules? What's going on with the annual filing, right? Do you have your intellectual property protected? Okay, so you did get certain things registered. Do you need to renew those registrations? All of that goes into business compliance strategies. And so once again, what are your goals personally? Where do you personally want to be in the next 6 months, the next 2 years, the next 5 years? What are your short-term goals? What is the plan, right? For you personally. Why? Because your business is going to take you there if you do this right. Your business is going to take you there, right? So you need to know what that is. Where will you be in the next 2 to 5 years, right? These are longer term goals. 2 to 5 years, we get past that. And I then ask the clients, well, where are you going to be? Where do you want to be in 5 to 10 years? That may be a longer discussion. But all of these goals that you have personally, right, need to be understood and discussed because you want to know how this translates into circulating money. How does this translate into circulating money? And I'm using the term circulate intentionally because I don't want to say spend, because now you just spent the money. Circulate means the money that's going out, but also the money that's coming in, right? So when you get what does my girlfriend call it? An invoice for blessings already received, right? So that's going out. That's your thank you that's going out. But what's the ROI in that? That's a conversation that I always have with my clients, from the very beginning. How does this translate to circulating money? You want to pay attention to all of that. Because remember, know thyself. Who do you serve? What's your client experience? Who is your ideal client? What are the industry norms? That will inform how you set your goals, whether you need to tweak your goals, and to ensure you meet those benchmarks. Because it's not like, where do you want to be in 6 months? Check back with me in 6 months. No, I'm going to hold your hand and walk you through it. You said you want to do this in 6 months, or you wanted to do this in a year or 2 years, right? You said that. What are the baby steps to that? So if you were working with me, I walk with you through that. Make sure you're meeting those benchmarks and not just looking at a goal down the road, down the way, because you're going to look up and you're going to be at 6 months, meet with me. So were you able to accomplish ABC? Well, no, because it was 6 months down the road, right? So all of that, short-term goals, long-term goals, how it translates to circulating money, and then your bottom line, know thyself. Know thy business. That's going to be the foundation. That's something that you should be reflecting on every day when you step into your business. And I'm going somewhere. These are important conversations that you need to have because you don't want to just go file your taxes. You don't want to just hand books over and not know what the strategy is and not know if there's even a strategy. The tax code is ginormous. Right? You need to know within that ginormity, right, where your goals fit, your short and long-term goals. And that's what we do at Dream Lawyers. We help you understand that. So today, I am giving you the cheat sheet for vetting your tax preparer. So I didn't go through all of know thyself, know thy business. I didn't have all that long conversation with you thus far just because I like talking about it, although I do, right? I want to give you the cheat sheet for vetting your tax preparer. So when you talk about vetting your tax preparer, you want to talk about maximizing your business, your so that you can reach those goals, right? You go to entity structure. I love to start with entity structure. How was your business formed? Earlier, we talked about whether you're a sole proprietor, whether you have a limited liability company, whether you have a general partnership, whether you have a corporation, whether you have a foundation, all of that. How is your business set up, and why is it set up in that way? What are the benefits to the structure you chose? Do you need to change structure? Do you need a companion structure? Do you need a holding company? Do you need, which is separated from your operating company? Right? So those entity structure, that's something you need to talk about with your tax preparer, right? Another thing I like to talk about is home office. A few slides ago, I was sharing about a client that's also a therapist, a psychotherapist, and how, the impact of the pandemic on the way she does business. So she's not unique. The pandemic affected all of us in terms of the way we do business and where we do business. A few weeks ago, I went to my parents. Unless that father was recovering from pneumonia. And thank goodness, this is a gift for the pandemic. It gave me the ability to be able to leave this state, go to another state, and still be able to meet with my clients. All right. So when we talk about home office, a lot of people have a home office. A lot of people work remotely, maybe not 100%, but everybody is working remotely just a little bit of the time, if not all of the time. So think about your home office. If you are in business, you have a home office, point blank, period. There's no question about it. If you're in business, you have a home office. Is your tax preparer asking you about that? The tax preparer needs to be asking you, how much do you pay for rent in your home? How much do you pay for your mortgage in your home? Because we need to do the home office as a part of preparing your taxes. Right? So you understand entity structure, that's going to tell you how your business is taxed. Whatever you decide, whatever your strategy is, back to your goals, whatever you've decided for yourself, personal goals and then business goals, that's where your entity structure decision is going to be, because that's going to show you how you're taxed. Now we're talking about things that you need to think about in the way you keep your books. Right? So you have home office. How is your home office set up? Is there a designated area in your home? Is there a percentage of time that you're using that space? And why do you have a home office? Well, that's not such a difficult question at this point. Like I said, as in the aftermath of the quarantine from the pandemic, we all have some sort of a home office. And then, is your tax preparer asking you about the Eisenhower Augusta deduction? And not just asking you, do you intend to do it? Are they explaining it to you? Okay, and so I'll give a little bit of that, because this isn't really a tax preparing session. This is giving you tips on how to vet your tax preparer, okay? So with this Eisenhower deduction or Augusta deduction, or sometimes it's called the Eisenhower rule. It's basically how you may use your home or property that you own for different things. Maybe you're doing a meetup. Maybe you're inviting just a few clients that are your priority or your VIP clients, and you're bringing them into your home to do a retreat. Maybe you're meeting with your team, right? May not be so extravagant as if, you're having a retreat in your home. Maybe you're just having your team come over for a meeting. Um, and maybe your team is just you and your spouse or you and your child, right? Start thinking about how you're using those spaces so that you can take advantage of these deductions. And then, I just mentioned spouse, I mentioned child, a team, all these are beneficiaries. So think about ways, I mean, depending on your children's age, sort of, sort of, I say sort of, I came up under a very s- strong entrepreneurial spirit of a father, right? So, and I'm gonna show my age by saying this. When you talk about who was folding letters, stuffing envelopes, licking stamps, right? That was me. So, an entrepreneur or a business owner, when you're talking about your taxes, you want to take advantage of, I'll stick with the kids part. You give your kids allowance, right? You can actually hire your kids within your business. And your tax preparer can be showing you how to do that to reduce your taxes as well as not do harm to them now or in the future. So these are like top 4 questions your tax preparer should be asking you about, must be asking you about. I'm gonna say the tax preparer should probably be asking you those know thyself questions as well as know thy business questions as well. They should be. But in any event, that's work for you to do so that when you go to the tax preparer, at least you have all of that sort of strategy in place. And then when you get there, at a minimum, your tax preparer needs to be asking these questions: entity structure, home office, Augusta deductions, beneficiaries. Those are questions, conversations. So it's not, I know y'all are busy running your business, but you need to budget some time to have this conversation with your tax preparer. You do not, well, I do not recommend you go drop off files. That's what people do a lot. They just, here are my books. And then they walk away. Oh, good, my taxes got done. Well, what was done? What was your representation to the government in terms of where your business is growing and going? That is going to affect you, that overview. That's why you want to have at least these 4 topics your tax preparer should be asking you about. I want to talk about a case study to give you some illustration as to why having a strategy in place is beneficial to your brand and the growth of your business. But more importantly than that, because you might get to the point where you sell your business, it's beneficial to you as well. Remember, you and your business are not one, although sometimes it feels like it. Sometimes it feels like it. 2 separate things, right? So let's discuss a quick strategy. Oh, client number 1, Abigail. I love her so much. Well, I love all my clients. Let me just say I love all my clients. Why? Because I know who my target audience is. I know who my ideal client is that appreciates what we have here. And she's one of them. So here's a summary of the situation at Intake. So Abigail is a retired professional, and she was paying what we thought too much taxes, and she wants more income, right? That was her point. Like, I'm paying all these taxes. I'm retired. I need to increase my income to live on. So here's the recommended strategy. We recommended real estate as a stable, low-risk avenue to create income for her, right? So investment businesses, which is where she was going, they need a container, an entity as a container. Remember, a few slides back, I was asking you, how is your entity formed? The point I want to underscore here, Abigail came as a retired professional and she did not have an entity. So if you do not have an entity, you need an entity. So investment businesses need an entity as a container, but I'm going to give it a broad stroke and say we all need a business as a container, an entity as a container, so that it's you and your business, 2 separate legal entities. So we decided to do an LLC for her after doing some analysis as to where she wanted to go, right, within her business structure, and not just where she wanted to go, who she is, what is her contribution to the world. Because a lot of times people, when they retire, they wanted to know what's next. What's my next chapter? What is my next contribution to the world, right? So the benefit of the strategy that we use is that the accounting expenses surpass the client's income, showing a loss, and it yielded an $800 tax break for her, which was a lot for a retired professional that didn't have any income outside of her retirement plan. And for her, what she was receiving was not enough. She wanted to increase her income. This LLC that was created, it served three benefits for her. One, the immediate tax savings. That's what we're talking about. DIY and how to vet your tax preparer. Is your tax preparer asking you about your personal goals? Is your tax preparer asking you about your business goals? All of those things. So one, first of all, top priority, particularly for this presentation, is that she got immediate tax savings. And then the LLC also served as a tool to manage long-term increased income with a revenue forecast of $300,000 annually, right? So this was a perfect asset protection for her. Just having a tax strategy can inform all of that, right? So remember, her priority concern was she was paying too much taxes. She needed a tax strategy. We didn't just go in and say, hey, okay, tweak this, tweak that, now your taxes are reduced. If a tax preparer could find a reduction in there. No, where do you want to go? What is your contribution to the world? How can we set that up so you can accomplish those goals? Reducing your taxes, that's going to be a given. But what about that income? What about the revenue projection that you're saying you need? A tax preparer needs to be thinking like that. And if they are not thinking like that, you at least need to be thinking like that so that you don't go to a tax preparer, hand over your books, and you're having this high tax bill. Or even if they're able to reduce it. I had a client last week say, this is the first time my business has ever received, I think she said, a refund. New client. Right? We did not do the taxes. We did sit down and help her create a strategy for sure. But in all those years, your tax bill was up here and your tax preparer never sat down with you and created a strategy. Your goal is to move your team over to W-2 employees. Okay, did your tax preparer talk to you about the implications of that? What that would do for your business? No. Did the tax preparer talk to you about the fact that you're driving from different offices, right? That your expenses on your car, not to mention gas, repair. Did your tax preparer talk to you? But no. Okay, so this is how your tax bill keeps going up. And that's just the tax part. We want to talk about your goals, how to do both. So a lot of times the taxes are reduced, right? Like see, this example is $800. It may seem small, but when you take $800 and you amend back, what is the 3 years they allow you to amend back? Now you have a little bit of something to do something else with. What is your strategy? Your accountant, your tax preparer, whoever's doing your books needs to be asking these kind of questions. And if they're not creating a strategy, because sometimes tax preparers don't feel like competent to create a strategy, they still need to know what your strategy is. Even if they're not helping you create one, they need to know what it is. Because then what's guiding their actions as they, what is it? We're just filling out a form, cut and paste information there. Where's the genius that this person that you're paying, what are they bringing to value, right? So a lot of tax preparers are not trained to do strategy for one, but all of them, anybody that you work with, you want to know that they care enough or know enough to ask what your strategy is, even if they're not creating one with you. So that's Miss Abigail. Love her. Remember a couple slides ago, I was talking about these four: entity structure, home office, Eisenhower rule, and beneficiaries. Write those down. And so then in this one, health savings account. Is your accountant asking you about that? Do you have a new car or need a new car? Tax preparer needs to be asking you that. Bookkeeping protocols. Your preparer needs to be asking you, how are you keeping your bookkeeping? I had a client where she gave her tax preparer her books, but she had a line that said insurance, and I think maybe $10,000 in insurance. It wasn't broken down. The tax preparer didn't know if it was car insurance, home insurance, any of those things. Was it health insurance? All those things need to be broken down. Um, do you need a new car or do you just get a new car? If so, how are you allocating that within your books? And all of that goes within the bookkeeping protocols. I work with my clients to set up the bookkeeping protocol so that it's easy. Month to month gets easy. From, from like January on, it's easy. A lot of times, which is more likely than not, the clients come to us and they they're like, it's time to file taxes, and they haven't kept the books properly. So then we'll go back in time from January and get those bookkeeping protocols in place. And then travel. Like I was saying, not only did she have a car for travel, so that goes under new car or needing a new car, travel because she travels a lot, meeting, clients at different locations. So this comes to our client number 2, Nikki. So here's a summary of the intake situation. Nikki is a successful real estate investor, and success meaning that she makes good money with that. And recently she received a large lump sum from a sale of an investment property. She used real estate income as an investment for other deals and other monthly income or revenue generating activities. The interesting thing is, and all of this became an issue when they decided to go through a divorce from her husband, go through a separation. And all of this came to light because she was allowing him to handle all of that. So she had an LLC, but her husband was managing everything, right? All of the properties magically were in her personal name. Remember, she was not the decision maker. She was not the one that was creating the strategy. Her husband was completely in charge of that. She allowed him to be completely in charge of that. And so she looked up and realized she owed the IRS over $30,000. So what was the recommended strategy? We recommend that she leverage the LLC that she already had in place and then document her income and her expenses. Also, transfer the properties out of her personal name and into the LLC. Right? So this is not a strategy for everyone, but this was a strategy for her because it helped. Because now she's able to use the equity from the property to cover her tax liability. Does that make sense? I hope you're getting that connection. The benefit of the additional benefit of the strategy, first of all, we're talking about tax strategy. We're talking about vetting your preparer, right? Created capital immediately to help pay off the IRS debt from the $200,000 in equity that was created in transferring the property out of her personal name. So reduce the IRS liability by documenting deductible expenses, right? And she actually ended up saving $30,000. So this was a structured long-term income strategy that we put in place for the client. But these were the immediate results for her just by going back to the bookkeeping protocols, entity structure, all of those things. These are the conversations you want to have with your tax preparer. In vetting your tax preparer, you don't need to bring these four up to your tax preparer because you're vetting. You need to sit quietly and see if your tax preparer is going to bring it up to you. You need to see if the tax preparer mentions this to you, or if the tax preparer is saying, okay, give me your books and come back next week. And so those 8 actually create the checklist that, it's a really great start. So by following these simple bookkeeping pointers, we found that our clients save thousands of dollars every year. So the goal today, I'll keep reinforcing, is not to give tax advice. I am a business attorney. My goal is always to ensure regulatory compliance first in the various forms. And that'll be intellectual property, that'll be proper entity setup and structure, these bookkeeping. I'm really big on how are you keeping your books, because once you have like a template, your life gets easy. It may be a rough start at the very beginning because sometimes we're going back 6 months, 8 months, 9 months to get those books back in order. But once you have that template, you're good to go. So that is my goal. I want to implore you to take what we have discussed today and use it to vet and interview your tax professional. That's the purpose of the checklist. So I'm go back a couple of slides in case you didn't get it. These are the 4 things you need to be listening to see if your tax preparer is going to ask you about: entity structure, home office, Eisenhower rule, and beneficiaries, as well as health savings account, whether or not you need a new car, what are your bookkeeping protocols? So in the example I gave, the tax preparer just took insurance and took that $10,000 and just plopped it in there, like cut and paste it right out of her spreadsheet. Bookkeeping protocols, conversations, travel. Everybody needs to be talking about travel. Whether you are leaving the country, leaving the state, leaving your front door, if you are leaving your home, and we all pretty much are at some point, maybe not every day, back to that home office thing, but you need to be having that conversation. So you need to be listening to see if your preparer is going to ask you about these 8. What that checklist is not, it is not legal advice, it is not tax advice. You and I have not created an attorney-client or a CPA-client relationship. That's what it is not. But it's a great start for conversations that you need to have with your tax preparer. And just from the people that I know have registered for this workshop, you're bright individuals. In talking to your tax preparer or any professional support person, whether or not they are giving you the advice you need. You may not have all the information, but you know how to ask the questions or listen and vet to see, right? So after you review this checklist, just share it with your tax person, just those 8. Don't share it right away because you want to vet and listen to see what they know, and not just what they know, how they're thinking, right? They don't have to know everything, but if they're thinking about what your goals are personally and they're thinking about what your goals are for your business, at least 4 of the 8 should pop up, and then listen. And then if you have questions, now you can pull out your little sheet and say, oh, you didn't mention the Eisenhower rule. Does that apply to me and my business? Okay, well, we didn't talk about my health savings account. Do we need to have that conversation? Because remember, you got a list of 8. So if they don't bring up 4, you got a problem. But if they bring up 4, you can always mention the other 4 and just have a complete, comprehensive conversation. Share that list with your tax person. And if you or they still have questions, reach out to me, 646-859-3915. I would recommend that you send me a text message and we can have another conversation. Because like I said, we do have an in-house team that handles taxes and tax strategy development. But if you have a great relationship with your tax preparer, we will work with you and your tax preparer together, right, to make sure you're covered. So we have no problem, getting on a call and just having a conversation for your benefit. And I think that's good because what happens is you're adding another support person to your team to make sure your business itself is going where it needs to go. And where does it need to go? Know thyself, know thy business. Keep that at the front of your mind. Here's my call to action. And then you get a subscription to Perception, a magazine-style resource guide. So it's Perception and it's an exclusive magazine just for those that are enrolled in Dream Lawyers Family. We talk about mindset. We talk about health. We talk about tax tips. We have some really amazing experts that I'm so happy to have collaborated with. All the things that give us balance as women business owners are people that have contributed to this magazine. But it's really about your perception. What is your perception in life? It's not a typical business magazine, and it's not a typical women's magazine, but it's kind of like if we took O Magazine, added, mixed in a little anything that you can think of that we need as women to thrive holistically as women, and then you add the business stuff to it. It just makes it so sweet. This resource guide is going to allow you to feel like you have met the sweet spot where you're not struggling in, okay, how to do business, but then how do I also balance? So if you get a subscription to Perception, that's going to tell you all the things we're doing throughout the year that you can be a part of. It's a quarterly guide, and it's kind of a mixture of a business guide and a woman's magazine. So we were kind of playing with the idea of that fun women's magazine, things we need to talk about in addition to the business resources. I didn't want to be a typical business guide where, it's very structured and kind of that masculine energy. I wanted to be softer, holistically of who we are as women. You also get the Dream Lawyers family favorite, and I call it the real VIP because everybody wants to be the family favorite. So as far as Dream Lawyers, everyone that is a woman, business owner, or works within a woman-led business is invited to Dream Lawyers family, period. There is no cost to that. It is a free community that you can join. If you're here, that means you're going to get invites to other workshops and just fun stuff that we do. We do an annual Women's Month. It's the 2 days over Zoom and one in person, usually in New York City, we did one in Atlanta. We did one in California in person. So you get priority enrollment to that. We also do an annual retreat. So you get priority to that. All of the DIYs, sessions, workshops, if you need to make an appointment that's outside or in addition to your 4-week series and you just need to chat with me, you're going to get priority in terms of scheduling. If we are doing a workshop, whether it's like this webinar style or if it's more like Zoom, more interacting style, we're going to call you first. I'm going to answer your questions first. Again, I encourage my clients to preserve their energy. And it'll become easier for you to preserve your energy when you put these things in place, when you know who you want to talk to, you know who your ideal client is, all of that, you know how many people you want to serve that week, that month, that year. This membership gives you all those priority enrollments I mentioned. The biggest value is in the Q&A. If you know you got IP questions, or like say the ones that's specifically on trademark, if you have an issue or a question about infringement or registration or any of that, your question will be answered and I will walk you through that. And then of course, priority delivery of the firm's magazine Perception and private breakout sessions when applicable, right? So for $37 a month, you get to attend workshops like this. And as busy as some of you are, maybe you can't attend all the workshops, but you're going to get the recording. If you are part of Dream Lawyers Family Favorite, you will get the recording. And after you watch the recording, if you have questions, you can email me and I will personally get back to you with the answers to your question. If you watch a recording that you couldn't make it to and you want to talk to me, you will get priority in appointment setting. So that's the family favorite. All right. And so that's it for the day. So for $47, my ideal clients will have access to the energy, all the workshops, all the events. And then if you want to just be on these type of workshops, then it's wasemilaw.com/FamFave. Join the Dream Lawyers family in whatever capacity makes sense for you, and we will make that happen. So you all have a good day, and thank you for sharing this time with me. Y'all can tell I love talking about this stuff. I love working with women and helping them elevate, and I'll see you all next time.